Good people, it is now time for the Salem Town News.
Hi, Mark with the Average Me channel. Today finds me in Salem, Massachusetts, best known, I suppose, for the witch trials of the 1600s. Won't you join me as I wander around and see the sights of Salem? There's a visitor center. Since I'm a visitor, looks like a good place to start. It says this is the Revere Bell, 1801. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's stamped Revere and Sons, Boston, 1801. I didn't know what to expect of Salem. It's a pleasant little town. I'm just leaving the visitor center now. I'm taking a pathway to the Witch Memorial, the Witch Trial Memorial. Let's see. Well, this looks like something, if I was a cheat, I could just get on that little tour. But I prefer to do things on my own. Some of it's covered by mud. In your hands, oh Lord, help me. God knows I am innocent.
I don't want to ruin people's vacations. I only want people to feel like a little bad.
I cannot deny it. My dying days. I am no witch. Each of the names here represents one of the people that were accused during the witch trials of 1692. These poor people were killed. They were hung for being witches. Frightening. Rebecca Nurse, hanged in July of 1692. It really is fascinating. Now, all of these names were put here, memorialized in the 1990s. So this is nothing of the time. However, it is an important part of history that we remember.
Witchcraft is a different word for magic for a certain part of the world. Not the scary stuff.
This Knoll Cemetery, it's said that some of the people who participate in the witch trials are actually buried here in this cemetery. As for the people who are accused of being witches themselves, we don't really know where their bodies are or what happened to them. But some of the leaders, the town leaders at the time, are buried right here in this cemetery. It's actually quite amazing how well maintained these tombstones are, considering some of them are almost 300 years old or more. I don't know how well you can see the markers behind me, but some of these graves are right along the pathway through the cemetery. And some of these are just left to your imagination. I have no idea who JC is, but it's a very small marker. You can see it only stands about 10 inches high. I don't know about you, but we have this gnarled oak tree and the 200-300-year-old tombstones. This looks like a place where witchcraft would happen. Now, some of these they have put in a modern casing. For example, this one here is a Mayflower pilgrim. Richard Moore was his name, and he actually came over on the Mayflower. That's absolutely amazing. Mayflower pilgrim. Here's another interesting one for Salem. This fellow right here, Hathorne, was one of the judges during the witchcraft trials of 1692. He died in 1717. I wonder if he lived to regret what happened. at that time. And right here is a tombstone of John Turner, and he actually built the House of the Seven Gables. Now this is my kind of witch, Elizabeth Montgomery as Samantha Stevens. It's kind of a warm day, so I'm going to take a break underneath the shade of a tree. There's a little park-like setting, and I'm sitting in some Adirondack chairs. I'm just going to take it easy. All I need is a drink right now. I bet I could look around and find something. I'm looking right at the Samantha Stevens statue. I'm going to turn this around and see if we can get a look at that. It's right there. So there's the statue, and I found a nice, cool place to sit on a hot day. It's somewhere in the low 80s, and I very foolishly wore long pants, so I'm kind of warm. Well, I survived the witchcraft store. I'm still in one piece, and I don't think that I've been hexed. Let's go on to the witch's house. Behind me is the witch house. It's the only building still standing that has direct ties to the Salem witch trials. Jonathan Corwin lived at the house. He bought it in 1675, and he was a local magistrate that was one of those who presided over the witch trials that eventually sent 19 people to the gallows. So I'm stopping for lunch at a place called Rockefeller's. As you can see, it's right off the walking wall. And it's a pretty nice looking place. I don't think I've ever seen this before. For you germaphobes, you can open the door with your foot. So thirsty after walking around. I downed this Diet Coke in no time. Looks pretty tasty. I ordered the haddock with rice pilaf. It's always kind of tough to eat and video at the same time, so this might be the best I'll be able to do. Well, here goes. Very tasty, really soft and tender without being mushy, cooked just right. Spices are really good. Rice pilaf. I give it a thumbs up. I'm gonna have more. I give Rockefeller's an A+. The haddock was delicious, some of the best I've ever had, I think. And the whole bill was only $16, so you can't hardly beat that for lunch. So those young ladies are part of a theater group. Apparently they put on a pre-show here. I'm gonna already have left town, so I won't be able to see it. But it sounds pretty interesting. They're gonna recreate part of the trial. And one of the voodoo shops, the magic shops, has several specimens of a Fiji mermaid. I think I've mentioned in another video that I have 2 of them myself. They look different than these. Really weird stuff. When I was 12 years old, I worked for the 2-headed baby display at a carnival. Maybe I'll talk about that in a video someday too. I guess this is supposed to be John Merrick, the Elephant Man's skeleton. So I heard one of the shopkeepers say that the population in October increases by 100,000 people in a 3 square mile area. That is a lot of people. It must get very crowded here. I'm here in June and it's very comfortable. There's enough people that it kind of feels touristy and you feel like you're part of something, but not so many that you can't get into the shops and you can't get into the restaurants. This is a great city. I wish I had a little longer to be here, but unfortunately I don't. I'm passing through on my way to New Hampshire. This looks like fun. It's the Witch Pigs Costume Studio. You know, they have some of those in a lot of towns where you dress up like a cowboy. This is one where you can dress up like a witch in Old Salem. I'm not going to do it. Psychic readings. I've never had a psychic reading. I don't think I'll start today.
Then it shall be here in the square in just 6 minutes. Put me down.
Is a convenient place to store one, Dale.
Well, good. We do have a goodly assembly today. A youngish assembly, but a goodly one nonetheless. Good people, it is now time for the Salem Town News. Time for the afternoon report. Firstly, I would like to inform you all that there will be in the next few days a ship arriving in port, my ship specifically, from which you can buy wine, oil, other sundry goods and luxuries should you have the fair trade to pay for these goods and luxuries. Now, these merchants do recall everyone who has shorted them in the past. I would suggest that some of you, looking at you, Goodman, perhaps don't go near the dock for the next week or so. I have business with these men, and we wouldn't want you to jeopardize Salem's good name, now would we? On a more somber note, good people, Goodwife Gammon is much aggrieved, as you may be aware, due to the passing away of her husband, Goodman Gammon. It does seem that the Lord is testing their family further, as this latest storm did cause a tree to land upon their house. Thankfully, nobody was injured. However, significant damage has been done to the roof of their house, and our local house right is out of town. So, we would ask if there are any able-bodied men or women in this assembly who would be willing to lend their hands to a charitable exploit. Who would be willing to help Goodwife Gammon? Yes, you and you. Have any of you built houses before?
No!
You all have. Well, I'm sure between all of us we can figure it out.
I built a make-that
Really? That's an impressive feat. Well, very well. All of us then, the first crow of the rooster, the day after the Sabbath, will meet and continue our work on Goodwife Gammon's house. Now, I should also inform you all that due to the witchcraft that has been plaguing Salem Village as of late, the ministers have called for a solemn day of prayer and fasting beginning at sundown. As you fast and examine your consciences, we would ask you keep in your prayers those who are being afflicted by the devil's hands, as well as for the souls of their tormentors, as is our Christian duty. Finally, I do bring news from the Maine up north. There has been yet another attack by the savages. They have ransacked a local village and many hostages were taken. May God have mercy on us during this time of trial. Yes, what?
I have important news for this assembly right now. I must share. It pertains to witchcraft, and I must explain.
Very well. Your constable, everyone.
Thank you. Everybody understands that witchcraft is now is a very big deal in Salem now, and
Yes,
we have a warrant. Yes, thank you. We have a warrant for one of the women in Salem. Her name is Bridget Bishop. She has been cried out upon by 5 young girls. She wears a red bodice. If
I saw
anybody
her
has
here not
seen-
too long ago.
Yes, she was. I believe I saw her in the area. If
This
anybody
girl has a red bodice.
They're wearing
they're all wearing red. I'm not sure.
That makes
where-
this difficult
Are you?
then.
You're not. No. You're
Are
not
there any other
supposed to.
distinguishing characteristics?
I'm not sure. She wears a black cap. She.
Are you?
Oh,
Where are you
over
pointing?
there.
Bridget Bishop.
That woman found her.
Bridget Bishop, please. You have been cried
She's
out
the
upon.
one to blame.
What is the trouble, Constable?
You have been cried out upon as a witch.
I've been cried out upon as what?
As a witch.
As a
That
witch,
is
are you hard of hearing,
absurd.
good wife?
Who cries out upon me?
5 young girls who were afflicted horribly have cried out and said that you have done it to them.
Have I?
Yes.
Well, this is folly, and I have better things to do with my day, so I bid you goodbye.
Miss Bishop, we must take you in and discover if you are or are not a witch. Please.
Should I follow this man and show him the folly of his ways?
No.
Yes. He will not be able to prove me a witch. I will go with you willingly.
Thank you.
Oh, wait. Is that not your wife over there?
She's spirited. I like that.
Right, Bishop, please, enough of the game.
Excellent. Oh, come, Constable, don't be a man of sour humor.
You should all
Just
be
because you
afraid
are
of
overpowered by a
fasting
woman.
instead of trifling.
All right, good people. This way for the examination of Bridget Bishop. We will to Lieutenant Nathaniel Ingersoll's ordinary. Try to save most of your drinking for after the examination.
That was fun. I'd go off to the theater too, except I have to head north to New Hampshire, and I have to leave Salem behind. And here's what is undoubtedly the landmark and most famous statue in all of Salem. Roger Conant was an early settler and said to be the founder of Salem. So that's my trip to Salem, Massachusetts. Salem's a great little town, and there's a lot more to it than we saw in this short video. I was only there a few hours, so I couldn't see everything, but it has the whole maritime aspect. There's a lot more going on in that town than you saw in this video. And don't be afraid to visit cities and areas like Salem. As you know, I travel all over the country, and when I first started traveling, I was a little intimidated, but especially Salem, really, really easy. As far as parking, I use the structure in an area called Museum Place. I was there an entire afternoon. It only cost $3. I think it's 75 cents an hour. Right across the street is a visitor center. So easy to get around. In the visitor center, pick up one of these free guides. In it is a walking map. There's also the red line that's painted on the sidewalk that travels throughout the city. I'm the type that likes to venture off the line a little bit and find interesting things. So go online and spend a half hour and find out what you want to see before you go there. I also might say I think you can save a lot of money by not taking the tours. Sure, they might have some interesting things, but I think you can find just as many interesting things on your own in using things like the guide, going to the visitor center ahead of time and talk to the people, ask them what they think is worth seeing. And of course, don't forget you have your phone. If you're wondering, what is this witch house all about? Look it up, get a little background information. I never did get to the House of Seven Gables. I never got to the water. There are a lot of things I missed, so if I have the chance, I'll be going back. I'm Mark with the Average Me channel. Thanks for joining me.